Very well, welcome to this kind of a special edition in this Sunday night. It's Capital Sports, of course, 3.0 with myself, Alan Moore, and I have my co-host in just one moment. We'll have another co-host, hopefully a little bit later on. We're going to try and catch them. I won't say who it is, but we are trying to get them. Of course, it is Easter weekend back in Ireland, UK. It's if you're eating eggs, keep enjoying your eggs. If you had your Lent, you've been fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, and you haven't been drinking, haven't been, eating chocolate and so on, and partaking in other sort of like nocturnal activities, or it could be day activities, depending on how you and your partner feel. Now, of course, you can just let fly because this, of course, is carnival time in your heart. So I'm going to go straight away across to Siberia, I should say Western Siberia, to our man out there. And, of course, it's Andrew Flint. Andrew, you're looking spry, you're looking beautiful, lovely haircut, trimmed beard. You're looking in good shape, dude. And I think it's because it's a very special lady's birthday. Well, yesterday was her birthday, correct?
Today. Any time that we appear on air, I have to be presentable. Marie would scold me if I wasn't, and my mother would scold me almost as much. So I have a biannual haircut, only because my mother-in-law forces me to. My mother thanks her very much for, and I had that about a month ago. So still presentable, I hope. Doing my best.
It looks good. Yeah, it looks very, very, very good for the on-air vision. So, look, there's been so much going on. We have missed quite a bit of it, but we will be speaking with, of course, Cecil Cody. We'll speak with her about the whole Simona Halep thing, because it's been insane that she's gotten off so easy and been invited straight back into the tennis fold, even by people who said they would never play against dopers. Of course, she is one person who objected to when Maria Sharapova came back. She said that I don't want to take court with someone who's been accused of doping. There you go. So again, it's pot and kettle, and she is filthy. Okay, just want to go to do one thing before we do anything else. I'm going to ask Eastwood Cody as well. Just watch this video and give me your reaction to it.
He was good to me, and I sometimes had to remind him.
I landed one punch
once,
and he hit me with a door. Other than that, it was absolutely perfect.
That's true.
An amazing stunt team, Gareth Warden and Steve Brown. And they were phenomenal with us. They gave us free rein. And we've done a good job. For me, what was hard was, it was time consuming. 18 hours on set. Very little rest. It was strange to me, but, the fight scenes, I was happy to give my input and my oar. And Jake, as I said, is a consummate professional. We've done a good job.
Of course, that is Conor McGregor speaking with Jake Gyllenhaal. Of course, he worked together. Jake is he's taken the Patrick Swayze role in the remake of Roadhouse. Of course, that brilliant movie from the 80s. Conor looks a little bit odd. Now, I'm going to go one way with why I think he's been a bit odd. Now, of course, Conor is far from homophobic. He is a very open, a decent person. He will have questions about trans and so on, but more trans related to kids. But in terms of people who are gay or lesbian, he has melted off about different times. Oh, you're gay and do this. But at the same time, he's very open, very, very kind person in that sense. Like, take away from the onstage stupidity he puts on. I just think he felt very uncomfortable with Jake Gyllenhaal. I just think he either felt sort of overawed by this superstar, but this was kind of like it's broke something mountain, but something's gone wrong with Conor.
I mean, you could watch. I mean, look, Conor McGregor, you know what you're getting. He has, well, I wouldn't even call them demons. I think he welcomes them into his headspace. But the first few seconds, I could have thought, okay, this is the same old Conor. He's what should we say? Just been to the restroom for, well, quite the opposite of a rest. Then he sort of seems to tense up a bit and freeze up and look so rigidly straight. And I did use that word on purpose at the camera. You notice at the beginning when the beginning of the clip when Jake Gyllenhaal puts his arm around him and said, "Oh, we had a great time, didn't you?" And suddenly Conor did not look like he was having a great time. I don't think I'd read much more than that into it, but you're right. He definitely didn't look comfortable at all. I think it was a combination of he didn't even look like Conor McGregor physically. I mean, not the facial expression. Just, I don't know whether he looked puffy. Maybe he just had a bit of training or something. I don't know. I mean, Okay, just one quick thing I would say. You know, every time we do this, and I'm disappointed that you haven't yet, and I'm hoping you will later in this show.
Da 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 da! It's the motherfucking DOW.
You asked for it. You asked for it.
You have restored my faith in humanity. I know all is right in the world now.
And I have to say that folks, that was not that just basically was off the cuff, because again
We'll never get old.
There you go.
The timing was perfect. But seriously, the point I was going to make was, when we ask what do we think's going on with Conor, it's impossible to say, because you have to, by definition, have a baseline for what normal is, what normality is. There is no normal. There is no consistency. And I don't mean that entirely as an insult. Yes, partly because of his life choices. But when you are in that eye of publicity, and not just publicity, but as a combat sports style where you literally have to be a publicist, you can't become normal. You cannot be successful and completely calm and level-headed. Therefore, we'll never really know what normal Conor McGregor is, what is real, honest, true Conor McGregor mannerisms. And I feel, I don't know, it's going to sound a bit weird, I do feel sorry for him and people in his sort of position, the level, the scale. Yes, they wanted to be famous, but nobody ever prepares you for it. So looking at that clip, yes, we laugh and we giggle, and we should laugh a little bit at least. I just wonder, will we ever know? Will we ever see what a normal Conor McGregor is?
No,
it was, yeah, I don't know.
Weird. Okay, we'll be back in just 1 second. Now, the latter there is a friendly game between the Norwegian and underage, a youth Norwegian team and a youth Israeli team behind closed doors in Norway. Norwegian security they were spraying pepper spray back into the fans. It didn't look good. We know that. We've seen how teams who have played against Israel, including the Irish women's basketball team, how they were ridiculed, how they were attacked, and then when they lost, the Israelis attacked them. So there is there's bravery in playing an Israeli team. We saw that Iceland beat them 4-1. Was it 4? Sorry, 5-0, wasn't it? 5-0 or 5-1?
Sorry, which game, man? Which game?
European qualifiers. Iceland beat Israel.
Oh, was it? I think it was 4-0, was it?
Yeah, 4-0. So we've said it before on the show, myself and Andrew Easel, we've all maintained that yes, it's good to take part. We look at what's happening with Russia. We'll come on to that in a little bit as well. We'll look at what's happening there. We've seen the very much, let's just say, the difficulties that have been faced by international teams who have to play against Israeli teams, athletes who are having to compete against Israelis. We know it's difficult. We know also that it's very dangerous, because again, these people who are protesting, the first one is protesting outside the Puma headquarters, because Puma are the kit suppliers. The second one, of course, is protesting at a game. It's gone to the point where these people, and I'm sorry, I get the protest, what Israel is doing in Gaza, and it has been doing to Palestine and its neighbors, including Syria, including Jordan, and Turkey, and Syria and Jordan and Turkey, and for years, Lebanon. What they've been doing for years is wrong. It's criminal. It is completely wrong. But these people, when they're protesting and trying to disrupt games, these are the crazies we speak about before, about just stop oil. Because these people, yes, they believe in their cause, but they will move quite quickly on when this is sorted out, because there's no, for some of them, it's very small hardcore. The only goal that they have is there is no Jewish state left in Palestine. That's in my opinion. These hardcore people. And there's other people who run along with them. Andrew, is it safe at this stage for Israeli teams to play? Is it safe for teams to play Israeli teams? Should they be boycotted? We've come back to this before. Should they be kicked out of world sports and made a pariah state? Even more so than Russia at the moment.
I would word it slightly differently. I don't like the phrase being kicked out. Not only in this situation. I think more importantly is what you said at the beginning. Can it be safe? And I say even more importantly for that, can security forces guarantee safety? Because that is the precondition of virtually every governing body of sport that I'm aware of around the world. To stage an event, we have to guarantee the safety of the players, firstly, and the fans. Or if you can't guarantee the safety of the fans, ban fans travelling. Now, I'm going to go further back, branch out just ever so slightly for a moment to demonstrate my point here. Even if you try that option, as in you want to give the sportsman as normal a sporting chance to compete, which is what everybody would want to happen. Even if you try to do that, but say, look, we're going to take the safe option and make it without fans behind closed doors, you literally cannot stop what people really, really want to do. And as you've demonstrated in the clip, as we've all seen for months and months, or years and years, decades and decades, if people want something strongly enough, they will find a way, legally or not, safely or not. And staging a focal point, sport is a focal point in every single sense, in a positive and in a negative sense. And it's not sport's fault, it's just the appeal of an event. People are going to protest where they get the greatest exposure, whether it suits anybody else or not. So when it comes to what Israel's participation in sport should be, the sport teams obviously are innocent in virtually all of these cases. You can very rarely honestly tell me the sport teams are to blame and the sports people themselves should be punished. But it goes so much beyond the sport, and it's not their fault. It's nobody's fault in a sporting arena. So saying kick Israel out, like let's just be brutally honest a moment. The European Western Hemisphere loves to say we're kicking Russia out. That is the move. That is the way they want to frame it. You can do that if you want, fine. But the end result is, I still maintain, is correct. I don't think for a second, much as I love seeing the sports people I've watched for a decade here, it's not safe. It's not sensible for them to compete, certainly not in a European FIFA-orientated football sense. But this is a safety matter. This is a safety matter, not an ideological matter anymore. It's gone so far beyond that.
And I come back on this all the time, because Israeli teams, from ice hockey to even gymnastics, they have been prevented from going to tournaments. They would say, "No, sorry, we can't guarantee your safety."
We can't guarantee your safety. Exactly. Yeah. That's
and I mean, we came back, and I said online on Twitter when it happened with the IIHF, the International Ice Hockey Federation. They were like, the Serbs said, we cannot be sure that you won't be touched, because again, they border onto Bosnia. There are Wahhabists in Bosnia who, some of them, they will toe the Saudi line, which is like stand back and just try to be friends with everyone and sell them the oil that they need, and continue to manufacture the bombs like Saudi do. They manufacture the bombs for American companies that then sell them to Israel. So I mean, there's other people who want to make it, and we saw that, of course, last week in just a week ago now in Moscow, when people, again, what we believe right now is they were from some ISIS group. They came in, they tried to, of course, we know they tried to escape back into Ukraine. There are so many things that don't add up, including that the head of the Defense Council was fired just after it was it happened. There's so many things that America came out and said, oh, it was ISIS right away. But this is what is facing Israeli teams and people who are going to matches. This is why we said Russia, for the time being, for the big sport like soccer, rugby, they cannot be guaranteed safety in the big open stadium. They can't be guaranteed safety in Wimbledon. They can't be guaranteed safety in a boxing ring. We've seen that. We've seen idiots like already burning the Russian flag. This is going to happen again. So I agree to that. I think kicking them out, I agree. I'm against that completely. However, from a safety point of view, I think there's nothing left. Andrew. I fully agree with you.
It's out of our hands. It's out of our hands.
Exactly. And if we like Ukraine, if we think about this, people have not said it. I haven't seen one word written about this. Ukraine have qualified for the Euros. Now, I've spoken with a lot of people in Europe and they're going, God damn, they're not happy. I've also spoken with journalists in Romania and Slovakia. We have to remember, Ukraine is playing against two countries whose citizens, ethnic Slovaks, ethnic Romanians, are under pressure in Ukraine. Basically, they're not allowed to have schools in their own languages. This is what is facing. Both these countries, like Poland, like the Czech Republic, are looking at what's going to happen next, because there's land that historically belonged to them that was given to the USSR after World War II. So there's the only team they have to play that don't hate them are Belgium. So this is going to kick on. So again, there's so much of this going on. It's so dangerous. It's just going to get out of hand. Again, I haven't seen this written anywhere, and no soccer writers have written this. Football writers, they haven't said about this is difficult. However, in Slovakia and Romania, they've written about it. Slovakian sports, they have spoken and written about it. So,
I think honestly, we know the simple reason why. Because people merge in their minds realistic problems, safety, and ideological favoritism, which is sweeping through people's minds. And I can't criticize people for making their own opinions, but this is not an opinion. This is not subjective. It's an objective matter. It is not safe, whether you agree or not with their ideology. It's not about ideology anymore. It's gone way beyond that. And people can't see that. They can't separate that difference.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's gone beyond. So, okay, we'll take a very, very short break.
Ljudi, dok je nekoliko stotina ranjeno, molim vas da minutom ćutanja odamo poštu stradalima.
Now, that was last week. That was Partizan Belgrade playing at home against Olympiacos of Greece. The officials in the EuroLeague, in basketball EuroLeague, the officials, the players, the coaches, the fans, everybody stood for a moment's silence. It was immaculately observed. Same thing happened in I think it was Marseille or Lyon. No, mixed up Marseille or Lyon. France was playing Chile. The same thing. They had a minute's silence. There were a couple of games where that was observed, but in many stadiums around Europe, and I've seen most of the games, and I've asked people who were there, I've messaged, was that shown? No. And of course, the minute silence was, of course, for the 100, now I think it's 145 or 144 who have died. Plus, there's hundreds injured, and there are families destroyed. That from a terror attack in Moscow. We discussed it slightly. There's so much confusion around it. I think we will never know for many, many years. Of course, we were told within 1 hour that yes, it was, it just showed discord and people didn't like their president or don't like their president, and of course that it was ISIS. So that's what we were told, and that's all that happened to the narrative. Nobody knows. We can't say for sure. We do know that these guys were not good people, and they were heading back into Ukraine. We're like Larry Hood said, "Oh, there's a window for them to be accepted back in." I don't know about that, but I just think they were running away somewhere. But in that case, there was that moment silence held in many events across Europe. We felt it here in Russia. It was a very, very emotional, very, very strong thing. Andrew, of course, was on holidays when it happened. Unfortunately, I was kind of slightly working, but it was an absolutely awful situation. The one thing that struck me during the week, Andrew, that still goes on, is that when the Bataclan, when the attacks on Stade de France happened many years ago, and when things happened, like terrorist things, could be October 7th in Israel, Palestine, then the Gaza attacks, or many of these kind of like things, mass murder events or massive tragedies. There are lots of flags go up, lots of things go up into people's bios on social media, be it Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Je suis Paris. I mean,
yes, exactly. I didn't see that much of it going around for Russia. And when I asked a journalist, he literally said, well, you're killing thousands of kids every day in Ukraine. Now, where he got that from, it's an Irish journalist, quite an intelligent guy. Where he got that from, of course, was from the Ukrainian ambassador to Ireland, who basically said that, and why they shouldn't be selling gems and whiskey in Ireland, or in Russia, excuse me. Why hasn't there been, in your opinion, and why hasn't there been that kind of same sympathy or empathy for the kids and the parents and the families and one of the musical group who were killed on Friday night?
Well, again, I would love to say it's confusing, but the sad truth is it's not. It's very, very tribal is the word I would use. People pick a side. People treat life like a sport. You are on one team or the other. And it's impossible, has been for a long, long time, I think, for people to really even know themselves if their own opinions are actually their own, or if they are being driven and fed into their minds through God knows how many sources, because we cannot pass through a day without looking at a screen God knows how many hundreds of times. You're fed information, you're fed perspectives, and your opinion, your loyalty, and it's not loyalty, but you're told to believe it's loyalty. You have to pick a side. You have to pick black or white, good or evil, as if everything is like that. So anything negative connected to Russia is going to get a completely different look, because it is the Western world, is the narrative that fits what they are trying to do. And I mean, I could be really more controversial if you really want me to. What they're trying to do is not what is publicly said. What is going on in Ukraine right now, a lot of people in the West are benefiting from it. Nobody should skirt around these sort of genuine hard truths. Some people want this situation to continue. Some people are getting disgustingly rich as a result of it. And aside from all that, it is a very easy bear to poke. It's a very easy bear to tar, the Russian bear. I grew up on a diet of James Bond films where, it's the Russians who are the dodgy ones. They're the dirty Soviets. They're going round people's backs, and you're conditioned to think, even though you know it's a film, it is still conditioning. It's a mental conditioning. Russia is bad. Done. So, I mean, my friends here, my friends and even some members of my family here have told me, well, look, I've seen this. And they said the words I will use were independent journalists. What they meant was somebody with a Telegram channel who has managed to amass hundreds of thousands of followers very, very quickly, saying, how do we even know this is, why are we even calling this terrorism? This is what one person is spreading to somebody who had over 100,000 followers on their channel. How are you even calling this terrorism? I thought, you cannot be honestly that stupid. The exact definition of terrorism, forget who's it happened to at all, is killing indiscriminately purely to spread terror. That is literally terrorism. Some people are actually convinced, or trying to convince to get followers, which is probably more realistic, that we can even spread doubt in people's minds about that. And as soon as you do that plus the fact it's Russia, that's it. People don't even care to think, well, hang on a minute, what actually has been going on? Now, you can, the journalist you spoke to, that is an opinion that a lot of people want to believe. Now, I can't guarantee exactly what has happened on the ground every minute of every day in the last 2 years. Let's be honest, both sides have probably done things which are not exactly ideal. I'll
go further, Andrew. I will go further and say that all sides involved in this, all sides, It's not just Russia and Ukraine. I think we have to understand it's not just Russia and Ukraine. All the sides involved in this are either earning out of it, have committed war crimes, are complicit in war crimes, or are complicit in the murder of civilians. All sides, whether it be accidental. For example, Konstantinovka, the Ukrainian missile which flew off course, which was flying towards Donetsk, to the city center of Donetsk to kill civilians there, flew into a shopping center in Konstantinovka and killed people there. Only for a very brave, weird, but brave German journalist who's very much, he puts no bones behind it. He has a Ukraine flag in his bio on Twitter, and he's very, they call him Jihad Julian. He's very much pro-Ukraine, but he was the first person, and huge tip of the hat to him, where he said, this rocket, you know, and when I saw it, this isn't a Russian rocket. It came from inside Ukraine. But anyway, we know it did now. The New York Times came up and showed how it wasn't a Russian rocket. Initially, the president of Ukraine had said, oh, it's Russia again. They're killing, because I think Anthony Blinken was there, and it was this madness for a short while until the New York Times, based on this German journalist's opinion, debunked it. That's a tragedy. That's an absolute tragedy. It's a tragedy of war. We know that they've been bombing the crap out of each other since 2014. We know that they've been killing each other in 2014. Civilians, so many have died. Young boys playing football in Donetsk, hit by a Ukrainian rocket and killed in 2014. This is a tragedy. So there's a lot of people involved. I still don't understand why a lot of people who I know who are very much, pro-Palestine and, human rights and humanity is first and foremost and so on. When it came to this, and I can tell you, from GGE, from the Gaelic Games Europe, from our European committee, so there's quite a lot of people there, 2 people involved there wrote to me, said, everything okay, there's no hurt, they're okay. Even though there are 2 clubs in Moscow. So that just shows you that before that, when if you started, oh, you okay, you need some help. For this one, people are like, well, sure, it's Russia. So it's a kind of and for me, I think it goes to show that Russian teams cannot be playing in UEFA competitions, can't be playing in rugby competitions, because this will happen. Golovin is there in the pitch, some nutcase runs on, stabs him, kills him. People say, well, Russia started the war, so tough shit. This is the opinion that we will be met with.
Yeah, I mean, it's people. And I include myself in this. People, I genuinely don't think even realize what an opinion is. They think it's their opinion because they see it repeated. Yeah. You get an idea in your head, and you see one other person somewhere, an outlet say the same, and it just solidifies it. People don't even think to challenge themselves and their own thoughts. And it's an easy sell. It's a very, very easy sell. So the other thing is that the world we live in, of course, is all about image. It's all about the portrayal. So, you mentioned about the sporting events, why very few events did hold a minute's silence, because you can't be seen to be doing. Even if you actually think, well, hang on a minute. Look, even if we do park the last 10 years or longer, however far back you want to take it. And actually, look, this really is an awful event. And those people who suffered in this instance, of course they do not deserve it. You can't be seen to admit that or to have an opinion about that. Therefore, that's what I meant. I mean, I went a long way around to explain it, but that's what I meant by I'm not remotely surprised. I'm not remotely surprised. No. Why?
One of my cousins wrote to me and taking calls. So called me. I won't say he or she, but they called me on the Saturday afterwards, and I was working. I said, "Yeah, look, I'm happy to speak with them." And basically, like, well, the chickens have come home to roost. I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Like, we live, Andrew, you've been with me in the Europejski Centre and so on. We go into shopping centres, Europejski, like everywhere in Russia. It's a pleasure when you go to an airport outside of Russia, where basically the first time you have to take off to go through a scanner and to have your bag scanned and a whole lot is when you're in, past, security control. That's the first time you have to do it, because in Russia it's everywhere. It's been like that for years. We know that, and I remember when people here for the World Cup, and I remember again going back into the stadium that night, the World Cup final, and seeing people moving onto the field, and there were police, and I think I suppose the thing that got me was, why are police? There's no police within a kilometre. I think it was 2 kilometres of the stadium. Like they can't. It's only FIFA staff, and it was panic. And I again, there are some very well-known commentators. A couple of them still alive. One has died, and well-known English and Scottish football. They were starting to run. They were like, "Oh Jesus Christ! It's a terror attack!" The panic, the absolute utter panic, absolute utter panic. And I think again, this is what, if Russia's getting this, Israel is going to get 10 times worse. And again, this comes back to the fear of it. And if it happened to Israel, I'd be as sad. And I would hope to God, if this happened, people did feel for Israel at that time. People were mourning for it. The reaction to it, people went, "Oh, hold on, wait, no, that's a bit too much." Russia hadn't done that. They could have turned Tajikistan to glass. They could have turned Ukraine to glass, but they didn't. But it's building. And one thing is, before we finish up, Andrew, because we'll go below time. Left to right, the man on the left is Viktor Gusev, who's quite a famous Russian commentator. In the middle is Sophia Meyer, and on the right is 14-year-old Artyom Donskov. Artyom, with one of his colleagues, he was working in the cloakroom, so he's like helping hang coats and so on in the concert hall in Crocus City, and he helped evacuate 100 people. He basically went on the back ways, and he got the people out. Sophia was working up in the VIP lounge. Victor was there with his family and his friends, including a couple of very famous actors and very sports-minded actors. One guy from Lokomotiv, loves Lokomotiv, Belikov. She got them out. So basically, she helped him escape from that. We know of this as young boy Islam. He's 15 years old, working there at weekends, and he got people out. There were 2 people from the Moscow Shamrocks who normally work there at weekends. Thank God that weekend they weren't working, and they were unharmed. But Dinamo honoured these people. Artyom kicked the ball off in the game on Friday night between Rostov and Dinamo. And of course, there's a lovely moment where there's minutes signs as well beforehand. The impact is going to be felt about this for quite a while. And it's going to be felt in Russia, and not just Russia. Of course, we do know that in many embassies around the world, in the Irish embassy, in India, for example, floods of Indians coming in laying flowers because they felt it, because they had it on the 22nd of November many years ago when they had again a terrorist attack in Mumbai. So, Andrew, how long is this going to last in Russian sport? Because even for mass events, I know people who are going to go to games this weekend have not gone to games because they're still terrified of something happening. Will it take 6 months, a year, or less, or more?
Well, I mean, all sport was. I don't know if it really was nationwide. I imagine most regions would have done the same, but certainly in Tumen region, where I am, all sport was just called off last weekend, and a lot of games this weekend were without fans there. I don't think people will stay away from sport forever, because it is something that, rightly or wrongly, it's probably the most common, consistent place where people find comfort as well as risk. And we talked about the risk and safety element, but it is where, when people do want to express solidarity, they want to express support or feel support to with other people, of like-minded people. Sport is about the most efficient, effective place and platform to do that. So I don't think Russians will stay away forever. I think it will become a sign of solidarity, if anything. I mean, look, if we reduce it to the really unimportant level, Russian sport is not well attended, generally speaking, and even when it is, Russians do like to turn up extremely late, usually after kickoff, and even then it's a struggle to get more than 1,000 people into events that really should have 10, 15, 20,000. But anyway, the point remains. I don't. I think people will obviously will not forget. It will be something that will be in the Russian psyche for a while. I think there's no point trying to pretend everything's going to be a positive in the sense that this is going to bring the entire country together. There will be a negative side where it will harden an element of Russian mentality. The world is against us. Why is the world not showing the sympathy that they show to every other event? That is a Russian thing, and I don't blame Russian people for it. I feel a little bit of it myself, but I think, look, we are a sports show, and we do have to at least draw the sporting side to it. I think what's the role sport will play will end up being, I would choose to believe, perhaps slightly naively, a slightly positive, on balance role in it domestically, at least. For Russian people, it will be a place where they can show, if not the rest of the world, then at least each other, that we all feel the same, and it's okay to feel, whether it's being frightened, whether it's uncertainty, we're going to feel it together at least. And if you try and hide it away completely, you're never going to heal. But at least sport can offer that platform. We just have to hope that it will be safely. But I'm going to choose the positive side of it, and I think sport will bring Russian people together.
Yeah, for sure. I can tell you on the Saturday for lunch, we went out to the gym. There's nobody in the gym. It was about 1/3 of normal people who were there. The shop sets were empty. It was crazy. But again, fingers crossed it'll be better. Going to ask you what happens next. Watch the start of this. Okay, I'll play that again for you. So they know what happens next. Watch carefully. So that was Himki and Jensi Krasniar's today. What happened next, you reckon? I know you don't know this. That's
I don't. I generally don't. As long as it's something bad for Himki, I'll be happy. A goalkeeper picks up a ball. He's got to do something stupid. So I'm going to assume there's a player off screen that we haven't seen who he collides with the goalkeepers. He rolls the ball out. Rugby tackles him to the ground, gets sent off, and Yenisei Krasniar score. That's what I want to happen. Something along those lines.
Not quite, but no, you're quite far away. Okay, here it goes.
Лидер Сабитов, ну а между ними Талалаев, как небрежно, удар Ломакина, гол, ну это привоз, дамы и господа. В своем юбилейном 200-м матче за Енисей Александр Ломакин забивает Химкам. Я думаю, что куда бы ни собрался, укрепил преимущество своей команды, но это финальная фаза. Вот с чего нужно начинать. Вот. Окладников голевая передача, но...
That was some way to give away a goal. That was just ideal. Anyway,
Andrew, that's made my day. Former FC Chimen star Lomakin scoring. Brilliant.
There you go. And as I say, thank you very much, Andrew Flint. Have a great week ahead, and also a very happy Easter.
Well, thank you very much, Boston, and you too.
And that note, we will go out into this good night and say thank you all. Have a lovely Easter end of your Easter Sunday. Hope you all filled up with Easter eggs and enjoyed yourselves. And of course, we'll say a final again, a belated slightly happy birthday to Fiona Flint. So until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.